Live, baby. All right, second time's the charm. What's going on, guys? It's Logan and EJ. Welcome back to SwampCast, man, on this beautiful Sunday. A lot of fun news to talk about, man. We have a roster update, most likely the final roster, maybe some little changes here and there, with the portal window coming to a close. Spring camp and the spring game, the orange and blue game, have gotten announced. We're going to dive into all of that and what we have there. The national championship is tomorrow night. Number 10 Miami Hurricanes versus the number 1 Indiana Hoosiers. Can't wait to talk about that with a little Gator basketball at the end to wrap it up. EJ, how are we feeling on this beautiful Sunday, man?
Yo, how's everybody doing? It's kind of like I was saying earlier, it's not too much going on, but then there's a lot going on at the same time. I mean, think about this week in sports. This is an incredible week. You got the NFL playoffs. Wait, the 49ers, I'm here in San Francisco right now. The 49ers got absolutely obliterated. And I'm like, who the hell? Anyway, so you got the playoffs going on. The Broncos are still in it. The Bears are still in it. That's all that matters. Um, you had Gator basketball yesterday, and we're going to talk about that. That was a top 10 game, basically. Then you have um, more NFL playoffs today. You got national championship in football Monday night, MLK, okay? And then you got the Gator basketball team playing again. I mean, this is a lot going on. And the portal closed on Friday.
It's wild. It's wild. And also in our personal lives, we have a lot going on. So it's
Yeah.
it's getting crazy, man. So it's been a wild
We're all
one for
moving.
us.
We're moving.
Oh yeah, a lot of moving around going on, man. New space, as you guys can see. It's gonna be number one. I don't have my tripod, so my camera might fall. My webcam might fall midstream. We'll see what happens there. Still getting everything figured out. And the background will be a lot better going forward, man. And EJ, man, can't wait to see. Can't wait to see the space. So it's going to be a lot of fun, man. Cannot wait for that going forward. A lot of changes here in SwampCast, man. Very excited. Just getting ready for this new season, man. This new year in 2026 is going to be the best yet. Cannot wait. I think this is our second stream of the year because we weren't here last week. Well, you mentioned it, DJ. Let's talk about the portal, right? The portal did close on January 16th. That's 2 days ago now. Today's the 18th as we're recording this. Even though it closed, the guys, there's no limit or date where the guys have to commit somewhere. That's just the last day that they have to announce that they're entering their name into the portal. So as of today, there's still 1,200 players that are still in the portal that have not committed to a school yet. And they even announced, according to On3, they just reported this morning, EJ, that with the weekend and it being a holiday weekend and Monday being MLK Day, national holiday, Wednesday is kind of the last day that the schools they pushed it. Usually it's 48 hours. But now they pushed that where they have to announce to the players in the portal, but now they're pushing it to Wednesday because of the holiday and the weekend. And so there's still some movement going to be going on, but you're pretty much seeing the final roster for the Florida Gators. And I'm going to put that up on screen here right now, as you guys can see. And so, you're pretty much looking at the final roster here with some pieces maybe coming in here and there. But man, I am so excited, EJ, for what's here. We got a lot of great positional guys came in the portal. I think if you look at our averages on our average PFF that went out and the average PFF that came in, it was a massive upgrade with a lot of these guys. And so very, very excited to see how this kind of roster comes to be because spring camp's right around the corner. That just got announced. We'll dive into that in a little bit, EJ. But yeah, put this little roster here for you guys, kind of just a depth chart to kind of look at. There's 2 defensive depth charts here. One is 3-4, the other's a 4-3. But we might be running a 3-3-5, right? You just don't know. But I think
Right.
the good news is that we're looking at a very multiple style defense approach, I think, right? You can go from a 3-4 to a 4-3 if you want to do a nickel look, or you can go into a 3-3-5 if you want, because we have a good amount of defensive backs here, very talented secondary room here coming back, man. It's very deep. So there's a lot you can do with this team this season, EJ, but how's your overall feeling on what's going on in the transfer portal and what some of the new additions we've had this season?
Yeah, man. First of all, can I just say this is just a beautiful roster. Like SwampCast putting in work for our viewers, right? I mean, this is great. Look at this depth chart. Look at this depth chart. This is great. You won't find it. You won't find that anywhere else. Um, yeah, it was crazy. Like across all divisions, there were like 10,500 players. 3,200 were in FBS. Um, and like you said, 1,200 still haven't found a haven't found a home. Um, so we'll still see what happens there as these rosters start to fill out. But it looks like Swamp 247 and Only Gators reported that we've got about 25 transfer additions with 34 outgoing transfers. So we have like a net -9 right now in terms of our roster. Maybe that's good, maybe that's not. I don't know. But a lot of places are saying that our portal class is top 10 nationally. Um, and a lot of emphasis have been put on some of these new assistants bringing in some of these players. You know, uh, Stockton and Faulkner, or Stockton, Moore, Harping, Philo. We'll talk a little about them, but all four of those guys from Georgia Tech because of Faulkner, Shanahan and Boyer, with the offensive line at Penn State, so Troutwine brought in some guys. And then also Cam Dooley from Kentucky came in with Brad White. So that's another strategy. If you're getting new coaches, get the coaches to bring some of their players with them. So overall, I'm gonna when we start going through the positions, maybe we can give each one like our own personal grade, and see what position groups we still should be targeting for those 1,200 players that are still out there in limbo land.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, let's definitely do that. We can start with the offense then, man. The quarterback position. This one doesn't really change. Hasn't changed at all. No really new additions
Yeah.
here. Of course, you got Aaron Philo, 76 on PFF. Tramel Jones coming back, man. I think he's still redshirted, right? I think he redshirted last year. Um,
Yes.
and then you have Will Griffin, obviously coming in as a true freshman over there from, I believe, Tampa. And so Tampa, Florida. So this is a pretty talented quarterback room, right? I mean, the stuff that I'm seeing, the more looking at Aaron Philo, he has a lot of upside. Like you said, broke, I think, all of Trevor Lawrence's Georgia high school records. The guy's very, very talented. Just haven't really found his footing at the college football Power 4 level yet. But has a chance, following Buster Faulkner, like you stated, to the University of Florida. I think overall, a grade I would give for this one. There's not really a big standout guy, but it is pretty talented. I might go with maybe a B minus. I think there's some definitely high upside here, but that's probably where I'm landing at with
Okay.
quarterbacks.
For quarterbacks, um, yeah. I mean, when I look at the style of offense and the style of defense for both these coordinators, it's multiple, right? That we're going to do a lot of different things, uh, both with the quarterback, the running back, the offensive line, and the formations. And I think when you're looking at Philo, I think the one benefit that we've talked about is he at least understands Buster Faulkner's terminology, his style, his philosophy, and what he's trying to accomplish over the course of a game, even though he hasn't really played a lot. He did start one game last year and for Georgia Tech, which is great. So did Tramel Jones. Tramel Jones also had one full game against Long Island Ice Tea. Well, not one full game, but you know what I mean. I would probably say a B as well. I'd probably say a B. And to get an A, you're going to have to bring in one of these top rated quarterbacks, kind of like what Miami and Notre Dame do every year. But I think the positive is you've got two highly rated players that have broken records, and Will Griffin is also a 4-star. Um,
Gatorade
lots of
Player of the Year, right?
Gatorade Player of the Year, lots of tools in the toolbox for him. Um, and some guys who are physical. Now you don't have to necessarily be able to run. You don't have to be Michael Vick out there, but you do have to be mobile. You have to be able to pick up some extra yards when it's available. You've got to be able to roll that pocket and be effective in throwing on the run as well, and be accurate when you do that. So, particularly in a Buster Faulkner type offense. So, I give it a B2, and I'm looking forward to the spring competition between Philo and Trammell.
100%. No, that I think that and the offensive line, I think, are two position groups that Gator fans are really going to be interested in. Okay, who's going to be the standout guy? You know what I mean? So I'm very excited about that as well. Next, we go to the running back group. Jaden Ball, Evan Pryor coming in from Cincy, 82 on PFF. Super, just a speed guy. We'll just leave you in the dust, and you got Duke Clark as well back there. You got to give us one an A, right? You have Jaden Ball, probably the best running back in the country, if not one of the best top three. You got Evan Pryor coming in. They just complement each other very, very well, and you have a really good depth piece in Duke Clark.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I just saw that, Jacoby Jackson went to Ohio State. Did you see that? Like,
I
what
did.
the hell was that? That was crazy. Yeah, I think, CBS is calling Jaden Ball the $1 million running back. So, a lot of people, criticize the amount of NIL for the position because, a lot of people are saying, well, a running back doesn't really get you a lot of wins. But I think for this team, it will. Because, if you're going to go into a season relying on unproven quarterbacks to throw you into victories, that's not a great formula. And I think what Sumrall and Faulkner have strategically thought through is we're going to be a run the ball first type team with short passing game to get our quarterbacks comfortable and up to speed to where we can start really taking some shots. I don't think you can just come out and start gunslinging it early because we don't have quarterbacks that are have been proven to get out there and gunsling at this level right now. So I think hunkering down on Jaden Ball and then also getting the Cincinnati running back in is also huge. I mean, you got this really RB1 power, thunder and lightning type of a combination. So I really like that. Pryor from Cincinnati had 500 yards. He had double-digit touchdowns across 2 years. He had 200 receiving yards. Just a great change of pace back. And then obviously Duke Clark as well. I would love to keep Jacoby Jackson. I thought Jacoby Jackson was a senior, which he was, but he didn't play last year. So he has another year of eligibility that he's going to use at Ohio State. I thought he's probably going to be a really good back for them.
Really good back. Yeah, no, he's going to be probably
Yeah.
RB2 out there, for sure, man. Guy's going to get a lot of carries and a very talented guy. Next one we have wide receivers out here. EJ, very excited for this group, man. Dallas Wilson, Vernell Brown, and of course we added a few key pieces. And Eric Singleton Jr. coming in from I believe he was at Auburn, right, last year. Guy that was at Georgia Tech originally, though, and just did super talented, I believe 5-star coming out of high school, from Atlanta, Georgia, man. Dude who's been putting up heavy numbers every single year. They'll use him in the backfield. They'll put him out wide. And then you also add Jalen Lloyd. He is the transfer from is it Oklahoma State, I believe, right? Coming in from Oklahoma State. A guy who, for some reason, didn't play last year. He battled injuries early on when he was at Nebraska before he transferred to Oklahoma State, but another speedster and a guy that, has a 70 on PFF from the 2024 season when he actually got some good playing time. And so a guy that, once again, is very, very quick. So you have a lot of speedsters out here. Yeah, and that's not even counting Justin Williams and Bailey Stockton, right? A lot of these kind of, newer guys that are coming in that are young. But I really love these additions to the wide receiver room that I thought we needed to add some more guys into. And we have a lot of good freshmen coming in, whether it's, a Davian, is it Gross. How do you say his name? The true freshman. Marquez Daniel as
I think
well.
it's gross. Yeah,
It's Gross.
Davian
Yeah.
Gross.
And so these are very talented guys coming out of high school this season. And Justin Williams, like I said, an absolute weapon. And in an offense that uses a lot of motions, right? A lot of orbit motions, whatever it is, you're gonna you're gonna take the eyes of these linebackers and these safeties, and you could play, play all kinds of stuff and all different kinds of formations with that. Because, their eyes are going to be on, Jalen Lloyd and Eric Singleton coming around on, and even Vernell Brown, whoever you want, really, no matter who you get back there on this motion. But you got to watch out for Dallas Wilson on the outside. You got to watch out Davian Gross on the outside and Eric Singleton. There's so many weapons out here, AJ. I'm so excited to see this wide receiver core. I think it has a chance to be, I think it will be a top 5 wide receiver core in the country, but it has a chance to be the best.
Oh, 100%. Dallas Wilson and Vernell Brown, having those two opposite each other is just absolutely tremendous. Now, I'm probably going to give this wide receiver group, and this is just how I usually do things. I'm not going to give them a A. I'm going to give it a B to B plus. And the reason why I say that is a lot of this receiver group is based on potential, right? Because Dallas Wilson had an incredible Superman game against Texas, right? So he showed you what he could do, but we didn't really see him outside of that game, right? So I would love to see him healthy and see what he can really do for a full season. Same with Vernell Brown. Vernell Brown had a lot of flashes of just incredible athleticism, getting open, very difficult to defend. We had some intel that number 8 last year was the most difficult wide receiver to get a beat on, like how to defend this guy one-on-one. So there you go. And then I really like Singleton. Singleton is probably the one that is coming in with the most true, like, starter type experience that I think is going to be kind of like that Pearsall level of experience bringing to the team. And Stockton and TJ Abrams. We got TJ Abrams coming back, and then obviously Davion Gross. So quickly back to what you were talking about the portal. So while no new players can enter the portal, because that's the thing about the window. You can't enter the portal, but if you're already in the portal and you don't have a team, you can still get on a roster. So, outside of Lloyd and Singleton, maybe there is one more wide receiver that I'd like us to see.
We do have that one guy from Wake Forest coming in too, and I believe there's one other one. So
wait, what's his name? What's his name? Do you remember his name?
Mars or man, that's gonna bother me. But so that's what I'm saying. Like, these are just the 3, the 3 deep kind of thing. But the wide receiver room, I think, is loaded when it comes to depth. But yeah, we had the Wake Forest kid. I believe there's one other one as well that we brought in the wide receiver core.
Well, which one of our receivers? Let's play this game. Okay, let's play this game. It's called Who's Going to Be Like Malachi Tony? Who's going to be that guy that just catches everything and just gets open and nobody can guard you? Okay, is it Vernell Brown? Like, can he be the Malachi Tony? I mean, Dallas Wilson obviously is going to be wide receiver 1. But I see Dallas Wilson as more of like a NFL outside, like jump ball,
Like
back
Marvin
shoulder.
Harrison yeah.
Right, exactly. Like Malachi Tony is like a gadget, give him the ball in any kind of situation. That's very useful when you have a quarterback that's like, we don't know what these people are doing. So what do you think?
What I'm really excited about, I think there's 4 guys that could easily be that guy, right? You have Jalen Lloyd, you got Eric Singleton, you got TJ Abrams, you have Justin Williams, even Bailey Stockton. All 3 of those, or all 4 of those dudes are all, 5 really. You have 5 dudes that are speedsters, that are guys that once again can be deadly in the amount of motions. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Buster does, I think 70% of his plays are like there's pre-motion in 70% of his plays offensively. And so he loves pre-snap motion. That's his thing. It gets the defense kind of offset. They don't know what's going on, right? They have to, they can't just line up and go. It's like, okay, we got to line up. Okay, who's taking that guy? Or a lot of communication has to go into place. And if you match that, EJ, with a fast-paced offense, kind of like an Ole Miss or whatever it may be, that's scary. That's scary. You know what I mean? Because if you have all this motion going on, plus you're going quick, all it takes is, one miscommunication. You have TJ Abrams down the sideline. You have Dallas Wilson 50 yards down the field, one-on-one on a, 5'9" corner. You know what I mean? And so I think there's a lot you could do with that. So Justin Williams, I feel like might be the most gadgety, but like I said, TJ Abrams with another offseason of a lot of development, man, a guy who I thought got open a lot last year. Keep an eye on TJ Abrams to, I think, really be, a dude who could catch the country by storm. Especially if one of, obviously there's going to be injuries if someone does go down. I think TJ Abrams can step into that spot and surprise a lot of people.
100%. And I was just looking at these numbers real quick, just overall before we go to the next position group. So we've got 112 players on the roster so far. But the SEC limits you to 105. So, well, I think the NCAA. So some of these guys are going to get 6, 7. You know what I mean? So, like, what's going to happen? So we got like 7 guys that are going to not be on the team. So spring.
Better ball out. By the way, weightlifting, I think, started today or yesterday. Rusty Witt's posting all over his Instagram, man. So make sure you guys follow him on there. Same thing on his Twitter. The boys are already lifting, man. So we love to see that. So let's go to the tight end room, kind of correlation with the wide receivers, man. We did have Tony Livingston go into the portal. I think maybe even back into the portal. I think he went in, came back out, went back in it again. He went into the portal. You have Amir Jackson coming back, though, huge, alongside Luke Harping, right? Came in from Georgia Tech, 65 PFF. Not too great of run blocking, but a really solid receiving guy who I think had like 170 receiving yards this past season with Georgia Tech. 2 guys who I think were top 10 tight ends coming out of their class together, which is insane. And then you, of course, have Lakota Dupree coming in from James Madison, I believe, with a 72 PFF. A little bit better of run block, if I'm not mistaken, compared to Luke Harping. But definitely a guy who can be a receiving tight end. So this is one of the best tight end rooms that we've had in a long time. EJ, very excited about this. I think it's very deep. I think you have a lot of playmakers out there. And even if one of these guys is a disappointment, I think the other 2 can really step up and ball out. So I give, I'm with you. I probably give the wide receivers an A-, but tight end group, I'm giving this one, probably a B+ for sure.
Yeah, I have them at a B+ too. I think Amir Jackson, I mean, this guy was a former top 100 recruit. Like, to be a top 100 recruit in high school, people, you're talking about how many high schools? 50,000 high schoolers.
As a tight end.
Like, and to be a tight end and be like, this is insane. 6'5", he has wide receiver skills. Limited 2025, but I think he's got a really high ceiling, and with some good coaching, he could be really good. Harping obviously knows the whole Georgia Tech playbook, so that's great. And is it Dupree?
Dupree, I believe it's Dupree.
I think it looks like Dupree. Wonder where he's from. He's probably from France or something. Anyway, so coming in from James Madison. So I think it's very functional for what Faulkner wants, motion, play action, seam shots. You're going to get some seam shots. You're going to get some, some split flow runs. So like the offensive line is going to pull this way. Then we're going to hit them back door, run the other way. So it's a really fun offense to kind of watch. And these tight ends are going to be a big part of it.
I agree, man. I'm so excited. There's so many playmakers on this team. Now let's get into the offensive line. Okay, this is where I think it's a big question mark. And I think this is where you just kind of have to rely on Phil Troutwine to kind of be, hey, you have a history of great development, and we trust you with this process because, number one, the depth isn't the greatest here, and a lot of these guys are going to have to step up. So, listen, this is just my hypothetical positional, choices here for these guys. They can go all over the place, right? I don't know where guys can go to if they even feel comfortable, on the left side or right side. I don't know. Nobody really knows. We'll see what happens this season. We have Caden Jones, Bryce Levitt coming back with Kanijah Harris and Roderick Kearney. But then we also have a lot of guys coming in. Also, with Harrison Moore coming in for the center position, I'm probably going to fight with Jason Zamadella there. A very talented young guy that's been with the program for a few years now, who's gotten a lot of praise from people within the program as of even last year. TJ Shanahan coming in, and Egan Boyer. I believe they're both from Penn State, right? If I'm not, or Egan Boyer. Yeah, I think those are the two guys from Penn State. I might be wrong, but I think they were. You have, so we'll see what happens with those guys. Guys who were under Phil Troutwine, both really good recruits coming out of high school. Obviously went with him there and followed him over to the University of Florida. Desmond Green, true freshman, coming in. Mark Faircloth kind of coming back. A guy who also, there's a lot of good rumblings, I believe, coming off of an injury, if I'm not mistaken, but a guy who's really well known in the program. Emeka Ugorji, pause. A guy who is coming over from Stanford. I believe started at the outside line, or outside linebacker, offensive tackle position out there. So we'll see what happens with him. 46 on PFF, but he was a starter at the Power 4 level, and so we'll see how that translates over. Could be a good depth piece there, or even a good starter there, considering he's had a lot. And you see that with a lot, especially with offensive linemen, right? You see offensive linemen, I think you see it the most, DJ, alongside quarterback, when it comes to just steps taken forward from that, freshman to sophomore year. And so I think Phil Troutwine can get him ready, because I think he was a true freshman last year. So that'll be interesting to see there. Tyler there, true freshman coming in. Carr as well there. And so, there's some good depth pieces here. And we'll see what happens. Like I said, this whole depth chart could completely flip on its head. I don't know. We'll see what happens in the offseason. But I think this is, for me, the position group to watch, because if you don't have an offensive line, Aaron Philo's not going to be able to get, game manage and do what he needs to do back there. Jaden Ball's going to have to do what he did this past season, and he can obviously do it, but he's got to, plow through 5 dudes, right at the line of scrimmage. We're not going to be able to get all the ball to these great wide receivers on the perimeter and down the field, and these great tight ends. So it's really going to come down to this offensive line. I think this is the one position group that I'm a little scared of, and I feel like is going to be the biggest question mark. But we have a really good positional coach coming in, one of the best in the country, EJ, a guy who understands the patch, as we call it, and the Florida Gator logo, who won a couple national championships here. And so we'll see what happens. But overall, I give this one probably a C+. I don't know what to expect from it.
I think it's a great grade. I give it a C+ too, and which is passing. Hey, but listen about this offensive line, guys. What were we thinking this time last year? Oh, all Americans. We're going to be running all over people. We're going to be 0 sacks given up, 150 yards rushing a game. We're going to be running over people. We're going to Miami people. That's what we were thinking. Then what happened? We got mollywopped when we played A&M in Miami on the lines, just like the year before. So this year, the expectation is, well, we don't really have any expectations. So I think at the very worst, we're probably going to perform at the same level we did last year in terms of offensive line performance. And we're going to have to hope that, like you said, that we're just going to Phil Troutwine our way to an offensive line that by the end of the year is respectable. I really like the center that we got from Georgia Tech. Is that Moore?
Yes,
Harrison Moore. I really like him because you look at his grades, and he played both center and guard at Georgia Tech. 0 sacks allowed on the guy that he blocked in 682 snaps. That's what I'm talking about. Like, we had a guy who was the Slaughter. I forgot who. I think we were playing Texas A&M. Do y'all remember that game? Number 9 from Texas A&M. He came around the corner, and I was like, guys. And then we were just like throwing our hands up, like, there's nothing we can do. He's just gonna sack you. And I'm just like, and then I was like, okay, well, here's the thing about Buster Faulkner. He understands, unlike previous offensive coaches, and I don't want to like ragdoll on them, but you can kind of tell that Billy Napier was an offensive mind that he didn't really care about matchups on the other team. He came in with his game plan and he was going to do his game plan regardless of what you were bringing to the table. Okay. That's not Buster. If Buster Faulkner sees number 9 coming around the edge, sacking us like there's no tomorrow, we're going to change the plays up. We're going to pull a guard. We're going to put a running back over there. We're going to do something so we're not sacked every 2 seconds. So that's the best news that we can talk about this offensive line. I think the interior is going to be strong. And so I think running up the middle, A gap is going to be kind of what you need to be able to do. Nowadays in college football, power run up the middle, 3rd and 1. You don't want to have to, if you don't have a good interior, you don't want to be like, oh, well, let's run to the outside. That's a 50-50 scenario on 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. You want to be able to just hike, boom, jump Superman over the line of scrimmage, or do the what was the guy, the coach from Mississippi State?
Yeah, Mike
What
Leach.
was Mike Leach? Just give it to like a midget and throw it over the line.
Give it to me, man. Give it to me. Listen. You could easily toss me over, bro. Do what you need to do.
Right, give Logan the ball and then literally just throw him over
Damn
the line
straight.
of scrimmage.
Hey, man, to get me on the field, do whatever. Dude, I don't care, bro. Put me against Reuben Bain, I'll do it. But no, I agree. And what's good too about this offensive line, though, EJ, is the fact that we have a couple of easy games to start out, right? So they're not just going to be thrown into the craziness to start out. It's going to be a nice kind of get used to everything, kind of figure out the offense before you get thrown to, I think, Auburn, right? Is that first SEC school that we do play, first big game. It's going to be at Auburn, so that's going to be tough, but I think there's a nice kind of ramp up in competition for these guys, and I think that's awesome and what we need for this offensive line. So I agree. Interior is really good. Right tackle, left tackle, who's going to step up, right? I think Lovett and Jones with a really nice offseason will be able to develop well, and maybe even some of these transfers that come in will be able to help out, so we'll see.
Yes, 100%.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, well, let's overall with this offense, what grade do you give it, EJ?
So, it's between a B and a B plus. And a B is a good grade. It means you're, an A, I would probably say is top. What is that? Top 25%, top quartile. A B is probably like you're in the top 50, which I would love to be in the top 50. I would love to be, but we've got to sort of see in that FAU game, the spring and the FAU game, because in the FAU game, and this is how offensive lines work, just real quick, offensive lines and offense in general, there's only so much improvement you can really reasonably make from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. Some teams can accelerate that improvement. There are exceptions, but for the most part, that very first game of the year tells you what your potential is. And then by the time you get to the end of the year, like Florida State, Alabama, there were 2 completely different things, but Florida State fell off a cliff, but Alabama kind of got better, but they still weren't like an elite team, right? And they showed you that in the first game. So if we come out in that first game against FAU and we can't block, there's a FAU defensive lineman coming wide, coming around the corner. It's going to be a long year. So that's an important game. I give it a B. I think we have the potential to get to that A- toward the end of the year, which will probably be like a 8-4 type season. But that's something that I would take in the first year on offense.
100%. 100%. Yeah, I'm probably going to go B plus as well. I think B plus is a solid place for them. I think that the potential, like you said, it could be, I mean, through the roof, right? If all these
Yeah.
guys play to their highest potential. But I'm thinking B+ is solid. Really excited to see. We'll come back to this too at the end of spring, at the end of fall camp going into the season, and with all the new updates and intel that we do get. So very excited about that. Well, let's just go ahead and dive into this defense real quick. I have a 3-4 and a 4-3 setup here. Originally I was like, man, we have no depth in this defensive line. This has to be a 3-4 because we have nothing there. We brought in a lot of transfers, especially these past few weeks, EJ, to really add depth to this defensive line. So now I'm like, okay, I love now that we're able to go to more of a 4-3. We can, you know what I mean? We're more flexible now with whatever. We can be a multiple defense. We can go to a 3-3-5 if we want. Now that we also added a lot of secondary pieces, and so a lot has changed on this defense. Let's go ahead and dive into it. We'll just kind of look at the normal kind of 3-4, and then we'll go to the 4-3. So we got you want to say his name?
Which one?
Samu.
Oh, Sam. Sorry, guys. I gotta reframe my brain here. Samu Tamanu Pepe.
Tamanu Pepe. Yep, guy coming in.
Tamanu Pepe.
Where did he come in again? Is it from Baylor? I think maybe not. I know DK Kalu, I believe, is from Baylor, but this guy might be as well if I'm not mistaken. So he is a huge nose tackle type of guy, kind of that Desmond Watson kind of player. He, I think, is 374 if I'm not mistaken, just a big body guy. So if you want to play that 3-4, when you want that nose tackle, throw him out there, right? If you want, you got and like I said, these are just hypothetical positions. You can put whoever you want wherever you want. But if you go 3-4, you got Brennan Bett out there as well with Kendall coming in as a true freshman. Defensive ends, you're looking at Cameron James and Emmanuel but EJ knows how to pronounce that.
Bedejo.
There you go. At the defensive end as well. He, I believe, had an 80 PFF grade coming in from, I think, Jacksonville State. Absolute monster. He's a Brit coming in. He's coming in, man. He's ready to go with the knife fights there in the trenches. And then we have Jeremiah McLeod, Joseph Mbachu coming back this season at the defensive end. Spots there with Jalen Wiggins as a true freshman. Very excited about him. One of my favorite guys that we picked up with DK Kalu coming in as a transfer.
So I'm seeing here, since we made our notes, that Tamuna Pepe flipped to Colorado. Are you seeing? Yeah. Sorry, guys. We put our notes. I put my notes together Saturday, and this apparently happened like yesterday. So,
oh man.
Yeah.
So he committed Friday and then flipped Saturday.
Yeah, he committed the 6'3". He's from Baylor. Flipped his commitment from Florida to Colorado. Which, here's the thing. I mean, I'm actually. Well, number one, we don't have to pronounce his name. So that's first. But it's interesting because it's kind of like I would have thought that the SEC would have brought him a little bit more, exposure. But maybe the Colorado NIL deal was slightly better for him.
Probably. I mean, that kind of changes things a little bit. You still now don't have that big nose tackle guy that you kind of want. So that's not great, but so you might be looking at maybe, like I said, there's still 1,200 guys in the portal, right? You can still probably bring in a big body guy, and I know we have a few visits coming in from some bigger body defensive linemen as well. That could always be something. I mean, we have one dude who's 6'5", 300 pounds, Southern Miss defensive lineman Mason Clinton, who I believe visited 2 days ago, and so that's a guy to kind of look out for. And there's a few others, so we'll see what happens. I mean, I think that's definitely a little bit of a loss. I would have liked to get him, but like I said, you could still do a 4-3 for sure with Jeremiah McLeod, Joseph Mbachu, McCoy as a freshman, and I still think Emmanuel coming in is big, Cameron James, and in that spot. Yeah. So back with a 3-4 though, you have the linebacker group. which the only change there is we brought in T.J. Bullard, just a nice depth piece coming in from UCF. 32 PFF grade, but didn't really play too much. That's a bunch of limited snaps there. With the jack being Jaden Woods now coming back with LJ McCray and Jalen Wiggins. You can throw him up at the DN or the jack. You know what I mean? He's very flexible there. So I think that's a really, really good depth piece there for the jack and defensive end position. DBs, you're looking at Cormani McLean, Dijon Johnson, Javari Flowers, Ben Hakes III, CJ Brano coming in, a true freshman who's a really, really, really good. He's got to get a little bit of weight on him, but a really good piece there. And I believe, I don't think it's Kane Clark. I think it's Kanye, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's his actual name. With the 64 PFF grade DB coming in from, I think, UCLA, if I'm not mistaken. So safeties, you're looking at DJ Coleman, Bryce Thornton, Alfonso Allen, Cam Dooley, Drake Stubbs, and Lagonza Hayward. And like I said, very similar to the 4-3 that you're looking at. Except instead of the jack position, you got Jaden Woods, LJ McCray, and Jalen Wiggins there at the other defensive end position. So yeah, EJ, really solid group here, I think. What do you think of the defensive line overall? Obviously, I think Samu not coming in is kind of a loss there, and I would have liked that. But I mean, what do you think about this group overall?
I think it's probably a B. Just the defensive line. Having those space pluggers is really important. Like Brendan Bett and Jeremiah McLeod, I think, are really important. Bet was, he was it's kind of a little bit of a bright spot, 40 tackles, 3 sacks last year. And McLeod, is a true freshman at 13 tackles. So that's something. And Oya Badejo coming in from Jacksonville State, he's 6'7". That's his height. He also had 40 tackles and he had 4.5 sacks last year. So now that is Jacksonville State. So it'll be interesting to see how that translates. But I think it goes back to what is the philosophy of Brad White as a defensive coordinator and how the current roster helps. We're going to have to get rid of 7 people and we're going to need to get more people. I've always said this and will always say this. The 2 most important positions that can get you from A to B, A being 4-8, B being you're a contender, is defensive linemen that could get off of blocks and get underneath blocks in the interior and get around the blocks on the outside and get to that quarterback, okay, and a quarterback. So right now we're going to rely a lot on coaching and development of these guys. But getting Woods and McCray back on that edge, critical. I think they're going to do a great job. The question is, the edges really excel when the interior guys take up attention, right? And so Bet McLeod and Oya Badejo are going to have to really show us something. And I would even add another guy, given that, Samu went to Colorado.
Got to get a big body guy. That's you need that. That's the foundation of your defense. Whether it's a 3-4 or a 4-3, right? You want one of those defensive tackles to be a big run. Just a big guy that can plug two gaps with one dude. So we'll see what happens. But definitely just something to kind of keep an eye on there for sure. So defensive line. Solid on the edge, in the middle, not great, but I think if you could throw Jeremiah McLeod and Mbachu there, in kind of that interior defensive line spot, I think that they're solid. I give it probably a B- at the moment. Yeah. I think the ends really carry it, but I'm probably gonna go B- or a B. So we'll see what kind of develops there in the next couple of days. The linebacker group, really, really good up front. Wish we had more depth pieces though. We got Aaron Childs and Ty Jackson, Miles Graham, Miles Johnson, Jaden Robinson, and TJ Bullard coming in from UCF. So you and then you got the Jack if you're looking at the 3-4. So you definitely, like I said, probably want some more depth pieces here in the portal. So if you want to get a few more guys, but overall, I think it's a very talented group here, EJ, with some all three of your starters returning in Aaron Childs, Miles Graham, and Jaden Robinson.
100%. Yeah. I think the linebacker group will be the anchor of the defense. Graham and Robinson. Robinson is, physical, like Sam type linebacker, 50-ish tackles. He can actually, get after the pass or two on those type of, quarterback spy type situations. And then obviously Miles Graham being a legacy Gator is really, going into last year, I was like, him in pass coverage is going to be a challenge. He did a lot better than I thought in pass coverage, this past year. He had 4 pass breakups this past season. So I think I would actually give the linebackers an A-. The defensive line is what is going to worry me the most. We want Woods and McCray to be able to be everything, like the Ja'Kai Polite or the Jonathan Grenard type guys and get off that edge. You just have to have a guy on the interior that can help hold his ground and plug the gaps. And that's probably why Colorado went after, big money balling for Samu Tamunu Pepe, because this guy, you just literally just put him out there and he's going to the offensive line is going to be looking at him like, well, what are we supposed to do now?
Right.
So 376 pounds. So you need somebody like that. And so we'll see what happens, but I really like the linebackers. We need a little bit more depth though. So maybe I would go hammer time for another big guy in the defensive tackle position, and then maybe one more linebacker just so that you can have depth. Because if you're going to be playing, I don't think we can play. To me, we got to play a 3-3-5.
Yeah.
Because if you play a 4-2-5, then one of your better players isn't on the field because you got 3 really good linebackers and you don't really have 4 really good defensive linemen.
Yeah.
And then you got a lot of guys in the second. So you got to play a 3-3-5. You got to put your best players your best 11 on the field. And that's something Napier didn't do. Napier was out there. Okay, half the best players are on the bench, half the game. And then he's like, okay, we'll put them in. This is their drive. And I'm like, no, put all the good players in now before they get injured.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to do that this year. So that's I kind of like that.
I agree. Yeah, the 3-3-5 is probably going to be the best. But even with 3-3-5, you still want a big body guy. Just you're looking at 3 traditional guys there on the line. So we'll see, man. But the good news is we do have the secondary depth, EJ. We can talk about that real quick. We only have up to the 3rd string, but there's guys behind these dudes that are young or inexperienced as well. So we got Cormani McClain coming back, right? Another full offseason of development. I think he can be a really good guy. Dijon Johnson, I think, with some development, could really be that guy that you can throw out on the outside on an island with the best receiver, and he can kind of hold his own there. So I think that's a really big guy that's coming back. Ben Hanks, the 3rd signed, coming back. I think it's a good depth piece. Javari Flowers, who I think is very, very talented if he can kind of find his spot there in that secondary. CJ coming as a true freshman is really good. Like I said, I think it might be Kanye Clark. I don't know, but I have Kane Clark on there. 64 PFF coming in. And then the safety group. I think this is a really, really fun group here. I think this is probably our most depth out of any spot on this team. You got DJ Coleman transfer coming in, 70 PFF. Bryce Thornton returning. Alfonso Allen coming back, right? If he can get better in pass defense, he can be phenomenal. Cam Dooley, guy coming in from Kentucky, 69 PFF, coming over Brad White. Lagonza Hayward coming back, a guy who got some playing time last year with Drake Stubbs. And so this is a lot of depth here, EJ, in the secondary, man. And I'm very excited to see what these guys do. I think that, there's not a lot of great guys, but there's a lot of really, really good guys. You know what I'm saying? So I'm probably going to give this group probably a B to a B plus. We're probably going to stick with a B.
Yeah, for defense, I go B to B. If there was like a B to B plus, like whatever, so like if a 3.0 and then a 3.5, I would say 3.25 is the GPA for this defense. Cormani McClain still can't get over the fact that he was the number one cornerback in the nation. So in theory, his floor should be a B. Okay, every single day. Dijon Johnson at that corner position, I really like him. Thornton and Dooley coming over from Kentucky, following Brad White. He kind of knows that scheme. He's a sort of a, big nickel kind of safety hybrid, like, that type of guy. And Bryce Thornton, he had 56 tackles. He had a pick, last year. So, that's a B plus at least for me. And then DJ Coleman coming in from Baylor. He also had 2 interceptions and 6 pass breakups himself. So the defensive philosophy of White is not too different now that I've came to look at, how's the defense going to be different from, Rob Roberts. It's not significantly different. It's just a little bit more reliable in terms of you're focusing on not giving up big plays. That's his big thing. If we can set up a defense to where we minimize the opportunities to get 20-yard or more plays, we significantly reduce the chances the other team can score. Because remember, if you have a drive where you gain, I believe the stat is 25 yards. If you have a play where you gain 25 yards on a drive, the chances of you scoring on that drive go up by 50%. So Brad White's whole philosophy is, hey, let's just not give up any big plays. And then if we do that effectively, guess what? They're not going to score. And guess what? If they don't score, we win. So the Kentucky defense, I think, has been very effective. It'll be interesting to see this group that he's going to be coaching is still more talented in theory, based on paper, than pretty much every defense he coached at Kentucky, other than that, I want to say the 2018 or 2019, his first year, maybe 2020, not 20, one of those years, maybe 2021.
Hey, you talking
That
about White's first season? I think that was 2018, 2019. They had a dirty team that year. I think it's when they had JJ Weaver or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Now, like number 41, I remember. I
Yeah.
forgot. I don't know what that, but they had actually a really talented. Like they had several guys go to the league. So outside of that defense, this is probably his most talented defense, and you're still playing effectively the same schedule because Kentucky played Georgia every year. They played Tennessee and Florida, and non-conference. They played sub out Louisville for FSU. Pretty much that, the last few years, Louisville has been the better team. So except for 2023. But other than that, I like the defensive approach. If it's minimizing big plays, and then with the talent difference, I think that's going to give Brad White a little bit more leeway to be a little bit more risky and say, hey, let's actually blitz. Let's actually give the offense a little bit something different than what they're used to. And I like this flexibility in his play to set up the defense that way, because the offenses that you're playing nowadays are just so fast break, spread, running with the quarterback, dump off to this slot receiver, run this way, throw it, shovel pass to this guy. And it's kind of like, we just need a defense that at the end of the day, when you put an island on somebody, he can make a play, right? And I think the way that Brad White's defense is set up, and now you have better individual talent in each of those positions, people will have the opportunities to make plays But just like we saw with Miami, I think it was Miami. Um, it was a game, I think it was against Ole Miss. They dropped like 5 interceptions. You can't do you gotta catch the interceptions. When you're in position, we put you in position, catch the freaking ball. And that's what we're going to have to do with this defense because I think that Brad White's going to give the team a lot of opportunities to make plays.
I agree. It's basically a modernized Ron Roberts defense. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
modernized. It actually is a bend and break that doesn't work. So we'll see what happens there. Very excited for that. All right. So there you go. So overall defense probably. I mean, we'll see what happens. I'm probably gonna go a B. I think probably B solid. I mean, we'll see if we
Yeah.
get some more pieces, but I'm gonna go a B on that. EJ, I think you said B as well, right?
Yeah, I said
B
B
B
for
plus.
defense,
Yeah.
B plus for offense.
Love it, man. Special teams, nothing really new. We just got 2 backups that we signed. Padron, transfer coming in for kicker, and Miller Feely transfer coming in for punter. Behind the 2 starters that came in from Tulane and Patrick Durkin and Alec Clark. So got some depth pieces there. Really solid. Excited for that, EJ. The punter is another Aussie. So love to see that, man. All right. Well, that's going to be our, roster, kind of final roster update for you guys, man. We'll see, like I said, maybe another couple additions will be really nice, but that's pretty much going to be the overall roster for this upcoming season. Very, very excited for that. So just some spring camp and spring game news that we got. This first practice will be Tuesday, March the 3rd. They're doing lifting and stuff right now. And everyone's, all the guys are starting to get, moved in and everything as we speak. 15 total practices and 3 scrimmages for the spring camp. Practice will be on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, with the Orange and Blue game being on Saturday, April 11th. We'll see if that's televised this season or not. We'll see. If it's not, I will definitely be there. Because I think later on, I think I'm speaking at that Orange and Blue Film Fest thing. I think it's like
Nice.
the 10th to the 12th, so it might actually work out perfect to me being up there. So we'll see what happens there. But EJ, tomorrow's national championship, baby. We have the number 10 Miami Hurricanes, technically at number 1 Indiana Hoosiers. Indiana's favored by 8.5, which means that Miami's going to have to use in their own stadium the visiting locker room while Indiana gets to use their locker room, which is pretty funny. I think that happened as well not too long ago. So EJ, national championship finally here. I mean, 2 great stories, right? Miami, a team that not nobody, but a lot of people didn't even want in the college football playoff because it was like, hey, Notre Dame, you know what I mean? They have better losses, but obviously Miami, it was the head-to-head matchup. Miami gets in over Notre Dame. And Indiana, the 70th most talented roster in the country, Kurt Cignetti, the Fighting Cignettis, make their way to the national championship, despite, like I said, being the 70th, roster in the country when it comes to talent-wise. But one of the best coach teams you'll see, and it just so on schedule with everything. The timing of the plays, just very, very coherent team. One of the most I've seen. This feels like an early 2010s Nick Saban type of team, like truly, at Alabama. So really excited for this one, EJ. What are your thoughts on it? How do you think this is going to go, man? Tickets for this game are ridiculous price-wise. So how do you feel about this one down there in Miami?
Yeah, man, that's what I was thinking. That's the first thing I thought is who can afford to go to this game? Because first of all, let's say you're a Miami fan and we're Florida fans. So back to what we were talking about not long ago, we haven't really been to the upgraded college football playoff. So we're not used to, okay, you go to one game if you win, then you go to another game if you win, then you go to the semifinal. If you win, you go to the national championship. Each of these trips are like $2,000 each. So you're talking about $6,000 just to go to the first 3 games. And then $6,000 won't even get you into the door pretty much of this game for any seat that's not a nosebleed. You're spending $3,500 for a nosebleed. So it's just, at least you don't have to travel theoretically if you're because maybe you're from Miami. It's incredible. Um, but back to what you were saying about Indiana. Um, I am trying to remember a team that was just so well connected. You know what I mean? Um, I mean, 2019 LSU but they had 6 or 7 first round draft picks on their team. But that team was very well connected. This Indiana team is a combination of just winning football, just the will to win. They have that. They're very well prepared for every game as well. Like they know exactly what they want to do and what they need to do every time that one unit gets out there on the field. So I don't know if that, so remember they were talking about Billy Napier was supposed to be this super detail oriented
Fundamental.
coach,
Yeah.
fundamental and everything, all the X's and O's and all the lines checked. We got none of that. You look at Signetti's Indiana, you get all of that and more. Nothing is missed. Every single position group knows exactly what they're supposed to be doing, when they're supposed to be doing it, to the point to where not only they can just do their job, they go above and be like the first play of the game against Oregon. It's almost like they knew what the play was. And then I know that some people are talking about, oh, they're cheating, they're figuring out the plays. I'm kind of like, okay, everyone always wants to come up with an excuse when you get mollywopped by Indiana, right? And theoretically, if Indiana only has 7 blue chip players on their entire roster, when teams like Ohio State and Alabama and Georgia have 70, 10 times as many blue chips as Indiana, you should be able to go give Indiana your playbook and say, hey, here's my playbook. Here's the exact play I'm going to run. And they still shouldn't be able to do anything. So this whole excuse about, well, they know our plays, they're cheating, they're good. Even if they knew your plays, you get. So anyway, this is just incredible masterclass coaching, preparation, the will to win. I don't even know how to describe it. Miami is going to have to rely on their talent on the lines of scrimmage in this game. And the only way I see a pathway for Miami winning this game is doing that, running the football, controlling the line of scrimmage, bleeding the clock, and then when Indiana has the ball, get after it, stop the run, and get after Mendoza. Low possession game with, high risk on Indiana possessions, meaning Indiana has to score. If Miami can do that, I think they have a chance. But the issue with this Indiana team, they're explosive when they need to be. They're methodical when they need to be. They can run the ball when they need to. They can stop your run. They just have way too many intangibles that favor them in this game. Now Mark Cuban is backing them with $1 billion, whatever he's giving them. It's going to be a tough game for Miami, I think.
100%. Yeah, no, it's going to be a very tough game for Miami. And even though Miami has technically more talented players, the coaching, the game plan that Indiana's going to come in with is going to be very efficient, very effective. And it's overall, EJ, hard to beat a fundamentally good college football team. It's very tough because they're always doing the right thing. And that's why Nick Saban had all that success for every single season. His team was absolutely dominant. And that's because he mixed really good talent with a really good fundamental coaching. And that's why even when his team was up by 45 points in the fourth quarter with 4 minutes left, he was screaming at his guys because he knew that that fundamental stuff that they're doing or weren't doing, in that example, is going to hurt them on, later on down the line when they do play really good talent. And so I agree. If I'm Indiana coming into this game defensively, right? Miami has also been playing very well fundamentally, has not been making a lot of mistakes on the offensive side of the ball. There has been a few, but they've been playing just pretty good, just take care of the ball, get the ball down the field, especially in this last game that they just had in the semifinal. One thing that Miami's been able to do consistently is run the football in these games. Mark Fletcher is an absolute monster. Even their backups, I think, are really, really solid. So coming into this game, you have to stop Mark Fletcher. If Mark Fletcher is able to go and run down the field and get 4 or 5 yards of carry like he has been getting in this playoff, EJ, Miami's going to win this football game. And I think, well, they definitely cover, and I think they win it. If you're able to hold Mark Fletcher to maybe 3 yards of carry, under 3.5, I think you have a great shot, because now Carson Beck has to throw the ball a lot. And even though Carson Beck had a great last drive in the semifinal, it was a great thing to see. He had a run game to rely on. You know what I mean? And that defense knew, hey, we can't just sell on pass here. We have to watch out for Mark Fletcher in this run game. And this secondary for Indiana is dirty. They have I think they have the second rush defense in the country first and on some sites, but their pass defense is also top 10. That's scary, and they're well coached. And you look at the opening game, their opening play. You know what I mean? Opening play was a pick six. They're dirty, and I think that if you can force Carson Beck out of that game manager role and force him to actually make plays down the field consistently, he will make mistakes. But you got to stop Mark Fletcher, and I think Indiana will be able to. I think that's your gameplay coming in, and so I think they're going to limit Miami to no more than 14 points. Even if Malachi Toney has a great game, which I think he might be able to, because even if you focus all your attention on Malachi Toney, you got C.J. Daniels on the outside that you got to look out for. You know what I mean? You have some good tight ends too. So and this line of scrimmage is going to be ready under Mario Cristobal, but yeah, dude, I think that Indiana's going to be able to stop Mark Fletcher a little bit. Malachi Toney might go off and might be able to get him some points on the board. So I'm going to go 14 to 17 points for Miami in this game, kind of low scoring in that sense. Defensively, though, for Miami and offensively for Indiana's going to be able to score points. I mean, Mendoza reads the field beautifully, but you got Ruben Bain. And I think you got number 3 as well, I can't remember his name, for Miami, who's also a big disruptor on that defensive line for them, man. We haven't really seen Indiana against insane pass rushers like this. Ruben Bain, I think, is one of the best pass rushers that we've seen in college football in a hot minute, and a guy who's going to be playing his best in his home stadium, with the biggest lights of his career. Miami wants this; they're hungry, but Indiana wants it even more. I think that Indiana's just going to have to. I trust Indiana to roll away from the pressure. I trust, and I know I've said that the past couple predictions that we've had, and I've said that multiple times, but I truly do think that Indiana will find ways in the run game, and I think they'll just be balanced like they have been. But what I'm worried about, EJ, is that it's going to come down to asking a lot from Mendoza, which they haven't had to do this season, and it's going to bite them in the ass because of the pressure that it's going to be on Mendoza, right? And so I could see this game being a game that just kind of falls apart for Indiana, because they haven't had to ask a whole lot of Mendoza this season. Stat-wise, he doesn't jump off of the page at you. And if some of those big plays just aren't working, and if he's just not connecting on his receivers down the field, and the run game's is getting off to a slow start, and Ruben Bain and number 3 is getting back there, his last name starts with a C, I can't think of it, then it's going to get ugly, and I think Miami can win this game. But I can't not pick Indiana in this. But we're picking the spread here, and the spread's 8.5 for Indiana. So I'm going to pick Miami to cover the 8.5, but I'm going to pick Indiana to win the game outright. It's going to be a really good game. This will be one of the best national championships we've had in a minute, DJ. So I pick Miami to cover.
Oh,
8.5 is a big number. That's a big number, dude.
So here's. A lot of people are thinking Indiana is going to go mollywop Miami. They're thinking they're going to get mollywopped. And when you look at how Indiana mollywops people, it's typically because the teams that they're beating are also used to mollywopping their opponents. So if you just look at the last 3 games for Indiana, Ohio State hadn't played a game this year that was close outside of the Texas game. And that was the first game of the year. Ohio State's used to just being up by 20 points. Now you're playing a team where, they're beating us. They have the lead. Indiana's got you right where. Then they played. Who was the next team they played? Oregon.
Mhm.
Was it? No, the Oregon was the last game. Who was their first opponent in the playoff?
Texas A&M.
Wait, no, that was Miami.
You're talking about Indiana?
Yeah.
Oh God, sorry.
Yeah. Somebody they got mollywopped.
Well, you had Alabama.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's another one. Alabama. Even though Alabama had some close games this year, they had never had a game where they were just getting destroyed outside of the Georgia game. And they didn't really get destroyed in that game until the end, like the fourth quarter. Then you look at Oregon. Oregon's used to being up by 20 points. And then all of a sudden, they're down by 20 points. So it's kind of like, well, what they gave up. So I'm just saying, Indiana has blown teams out who were used to blowing their opponents out and didn't have an opportunity to even make it a game. That's where Miami is a little bit different. Miami they have had a couple of blowouts, but when they're playing good teams and they win, those are usually close games, like Notre Dame, like Texas A&M, like this last game against Ole Miss, who has a very comparable offense to Indiana, by the way, in terms of like the running with Lacey and then the ability of the quarterback. And Miami was very effective against their offense. Ole Miss guys, I know people are like, Indiana's way better. Ole Miss is a tough freaking offense to stop. Okay. And Miami put it on them. Now, the difference is, like you said, I think you were 100% correct. Indiana's defense is, I think, materially better than Ole Miss's. But how much will it matter if they can't stop Fletcher running the ball? That is the question. Overall, like you were saying, I think this game is going to be a little bit closer than just Indiana coming out and mollywopping them. Now, it could happen. Carson Beck can go back. I could just see like the first drive, he's back to throw it ridiculously when they should just be running it 75% of their plays. But they're going to drop him back in the pocket. And Indiana, somebody's going to be coming around the corner, and Carson Beck's going to freak out, and he may throw an interception. And then that's how the avalanche starts. So if you're Miami, you cannot allow that to happen. You have to power run, say, hey, y'all boys from Indiana, okay, we're down here driving Corvettes and Bugattis on Miami Beach. We're going to run you over. We're going to go run by you. You got to do that. And you can't turn the ball over. The only way Miami stays in this game is if they have that philosophy, power run. We're going to run 66, two out of every 3 plays is a run.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Indiana has the ball, we're actually going to catch the interceptions when they're thrown straight to us. If they're out here dropping 5 interceptions, there's no way you're winning this game. There's 0 chance. You have to catch the interception. And I think there will be some opportunities just because of Bain, and I think his name is Massador.
Massador, yes.
Massador, yeah. Massador. Those 2 guys, listen, Miami has 2 defensive ends that are 90 plus on PFF. No wonder they're in the freaking shape. Guys, we're lucky if we get somebody that's in the 60s, which is like you're almost a little bit average, a little bit above average, maybe 70s above average. But when you have 90s, that means people are just okay. We give up. We
Best
can't
in the
block these
country.
guys.
Yeah, like
Best in the country.
NFL guys. Yeah.
NFL guys. NFL, and then you have two of them, so you can't like, oh, let's double team this guy, and then they have nobody. No, that's why they get in because you can't double team one. Because if you double team one, the other guy's going to come and ramshack you. So Miami catch the interceptions, run the ball 66% of the time, keep the game close. Carson Beck, if anything, throw it away. Grounding is better than an interception. If you have to throw it away from the pocket, throw it away from the freaking pocket and punt the damn ball and play defense. But if you get back there and you try to throw that throw it, and it's like, oh, interception, Indiana, the game is over because they're going to avalanche you. So that's the game plan. Now, with all that said, I got to give the prediction. What's the most likely thing to happen? The most likely thing to happen is this game is very competitive in the first half, and it's a game going into halftime. It's probably like 17-17. Okay? Then the second half happens where Kirk Signetti gives him that look like this. Signetti going to give him that look.
That's a good impression.
He's going to give him that look. And then it's downhill from there for Miami. I think Indiana is going to hit them with – there's just too many fast break opportunities for Miami. And Mendoza throws those alley-oops to – is that number 84? What's this guy's name? Number 84 for or is it number 13? I don't even know.
Number
Who the hell knows?
Number 13's a beast.
Number 13 is a freaking monster. All these guys are like highly rated. Listen, second half's going to come around at 17-17. Then alley-oop to number 13, alley-oop to number 84, 31-17. Then Miami starts to panic because now you can't run the ball. You got to start throwing it. You don't have time. Fumble, scoop and score, game over. So that's how I think the game's going to go. So I'm going to go Indiana, even though I do think there is a world where, like you said, it's a close game. But I still think Indiana is going to they're going to end it with a 10-point win. So I'm going to go Indiana 38. No. Yeah, 38, Miami 27, 11-point win, and Indiana covers. I just think there's just too many things that have to go right for Miami to win this game. And Miami, their last game against Ole Miss, they dominated, but something with the coaching, something with I don't know, but the game was way closer than it should have been. It should have been, if Miami catches 2 of those 5 drop interceptions, they're mollywopping Ole Miss. Mm-hmm. But because you're dropping interceptions left and right, you're letting them stay in the game. You're not running the ball when you're throwing it when you should be running it. Now all of a sudden it's a close game. Indiana's not going to make those mistakes. They're going to throw it when they're supposed to throw it. They're going to run it when they're supposed to run it. They're going to catch the interception. They're going to catch the alley-oop, and then it's game over, which I think you're going to have like a little kill shot run by Indiana in the midway through the third quarter, and that's going to be the game.
They're going to need that because this rush defense for Miami is top 10 in the country as well. And, that's a big identity for this Indiana offense is run, open up the pass. Mendoza is so good and reads the field so well that he's going to hit those shots when they present themselves, right? And so if you could take away the rush, because they have 3 really good running backs in the backfield for Indiana, if you can take that rush game away, Miami has a big shot. But if Indiana is able to run the ball, like you said, with some of these big plays that kind of takes away, deflates that defense a little bit, EJ, Indiana will – I don't think there is a single world where Miami wins by 15, 20 plus, but I think there is a lot of worlds where, Indiana does win by 15, 20 plus. So we'll see, man. I think it's going to be a really good game, though. So you have Indiana covering?
I got Indiana covering, and just because you go back to that Ohio State game, it's going to look like that Ohio State game. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's going to be close because Miami's got a defense that's similar. I just don't think Miami's offense is as capable as Ohio State. But you got to keep it simple. Like, run the ball and don't, know the path and never depart from it. Like, that's in the Bible. Read the Bible if you're Miami before this game. Maybe that'll help. Run the ball and don't depart from it, even if they stop you, because when you start throwing it, guess what? Game over, Flipperachi. It's over. Mendoza will bring the whole Cuban. Everybody in Miami is Cuban. They're all rooting for. This is going to be an Indiana home game in your own stadium.
All 800 of Mendoza's family is going to be there. It's going to be the family reunion in the stadium. It's going to be wild.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. This is like the whole state of Indiana is coming. The entire Cuban community, which is wonderful. These people are great. They stick together. They're all going to be there. Hell, Miami. You look at Miami. Their coach is Cuban. Like, this is going to be, guys. This is going to be incredible. I really hope it's a close game, but I got to go Indiana. Molly Wop.
There you
Miami.
go. There you go. We'll see what happens. I like that we have different picks. That's going to be fun, man. I'm really excited for that. EJ, I know you got to go here soon. Just if you just want to touch on some stuff with the Florida Gator basketball team, man. Stuff is finally looking like we're figuring stuff out. We look like a top 5 team in the country if we're playing all together. In my opinion, I'm excited, man. Give us your thoughts here.
So it's good. It's good to be back. It's good to be back. So just so y'all know, we are 13-5, which isn't a great record, but according to the analytics, we played a top 10 strength of schedule in the country. Losing a lot of those games to those top 5 ranked teams, to Arizona, Duke, and UConn, really taught this team a lot. And Todd Golden is another elite coach. Like, this guy understands who I need to put in the game, who I need to take out, what lineup I need to have. And it's taken him around this time to figure out what that optimal lineup is and what that optimal rotation is to really get this team going. So we've been mollywopping people. We beat Georgia by 15, beat Tennessee, easily. We completely Oklahoma, they were helpless. They couldn't do anything. And I'm like, Oklahoma's not that terrible of a team, but they're getting mollywopped out here. And then obviously you go to Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt, that was such a huge win, because nowadays in the SEC, you only play some of these teams. You only play 3 teams twice. And the other opponents, you play only once. And so if the one opponent that you play once is high up in the standings, getting a win over the top teams is huge for winning the regular season.
In their stadium, by the way. And we've been playing on the road so well, man.
And playing those games, Arizona, I was at the Arizona game. That was a home game for Arizona. It was in Las Vegas. It was 90% Arizona fans. We played at Duke. We played UConn at Madison Square Garden, 90% UConn fans. Playing on the road means we know what we're doing. Now, how we're doing that real quick, Ruben Chinyelu. We got to give this guy a standing ovation. I know your standing desk doesn't work. Hopefully we can get that fixed soon. Get Task Rabbit in there. You should look into that, Task Rabbit. I'm telling you, these people are incredible. Get Task Rabbit in there. Ruben Chinyelu is low-key the best center in the nation right now. Like, first of all, last year I was critical of him. He would turn the ball over. He put the ball in vulnerable positions. He would foul too much. His hands would be like this instead of straight up. He'd be fouling left and right. Even though he still was a good rebounder, he really didn't do much other than clean up under the basket and rebound and then maybe block a couple shots. Chinyelu now is this guy. Like, I don't know if it's got to be Todd Golden, that coaching staff, developing this guy into being the best rebounder in the country, an elite finisher at the rim, and one of the top defensive players in the nation. Because when you are trying to go one-on-one on him, you better think again. You better pass that ball back out, because you're gonna get blocked. You're gonna get Elijah Wand in the paint. And now Chinyelu is also shooting shots. He's making like 15-foot jumpers, baby hooks, 6 of 6 from the free throw line. Are you kidding me? This guy's when you have it, he's like Shaq. He's basically like Shaq that can do a baby hook. So he's unstoppable. And then obviously our guy, Tommy Houck, who's basically like, so I compare him to LeBron. A lot of people are going to laugh at that, but when you think about getting different college basketball players, you'll get one guy that can shoot really well. Like that's the only thing he does. Or you can get a guy who plays defense really, really well. Or you can get a guy who blocks shots. Or you can get a guy who can drive to the basket. Or you can get a guy who can handle the ball. Or you can get a guy who can do everything. Rebound, score, shoot the three, dunk, uh, play defense, steal the ball, assist, throw alley oop. That's Thomas Houck. He literally does every single thing. So now you have Chinyelu going Wakanda forever in the paint. Then you got Thomas Houck going LeBron on people. Now you just needed the two guards, Xavier Lee and Boogie Boogie, to put some respect on their names. And now all of a sudden they're out here balling on people. So, and then you got the guy down low, Condon, who's, Aussie up. I'm telling you, the biggest thing in basketball is staying healthy. If this team can stay healthy and not have significant injury, knock on wood, um, this team can compete and get back to another Final Four. They 100% can do that. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I actually am a little bit more scared of the next game, which is Tuesday against LSU, than I was about this Vanderbilt game, because I felt like Vanderbilt, we were going to go mollywop them, and because they think, oh, we're Vandy, we're going to beat you. LSU, it's all about when those games are, because it's like we just get on good on this run. You got Auburn next Saturday, which is my birthday, by the way.
Hey, love to see it.
Then right sandwich in between those two is LSU, and that is where you get upset. So this is going to be a very interesting game from a coaching standpoint to see how Todd Golden has a team out there focused, ready to play for a talented LSU team that's coming off their first conference win. So we'll see what happens. But overall, we're scoring 93 points a game, holding teams at 72 points. We're out rebounding them by 15. Last thing I'll say about this is analytics. So last year, to win the national championship, I think there's this crazy stat where like 90% of the national champions in the last 20 years on Ken Palm, which is like Ken Pomeroy. He has created this analytical system that all the coaches look at as holy grail, especially Todd Golden really is big on it. And he has defensive efficiency and offensive efficiency. And I really wish football would come up with a similar way to measure offense. Like the way I look at it is points per play and points per play given up on defense. And then you can compare that to and see who's better. But Ken Palm basically says points per possession scored on offense and points per possession given up on defense. And right now, Florida is number 11 in the country on offense and number 11 in the country on defense. So we're right at that top 10 in both. Last year, we were top 5 in both. So if you can be top 10 in both, you are a team that can win the national championship. And there's 4 teams right now that have that: Michigan, Arizona, Duke, and Gonzaga. Those are the other 4 teams that are all in the top 10 on offense and defense. Florida is knocking at the door, number 11 in both categories. So all I'm saying is this team is back. Hopefully we can come prepared to play Tuesday against LSU. And then next Saturday, got a big home game against Auburn.
Yes, sir. I love it, man. Very excited. Like you said, so nice after that crazy two stretch of tough away games. We have a few home games here before the South Carolina traveling there. But yeah, no, very excited, man. Like you said, if Xavier Lee and Boogie can both play really good in the same game, it's going to be nasty, man. Just let Xavier Lee have the 99. Let Boogie go out there and do his thing with the new haircut. But yeah, that's going to be it for today's show, man. I know EJ's got to get out of here, man. We really do appreciate you guys tuning in, man. If you're new, subscribe. We love it, man. Give this video a like, comment down below all the stuff that you agree with, all the stuff you disagree with. But we love you guys, man. We'll see you next week. Go Gators, baby. Have a great rest of your day, baby. Later.